thing. And so I call a title company. Title company calls me and says, Gia, or maybe it was the realtor who called me. Someone called me and said, oh yeah, the seller's realtor is going to put a mechanic's lien on this house, so it's not going to close. And I was like, why? Why are you going to put a mechanic's lien? And the realtor was like, oh, I verbally agreed with the seller to do all the renovations out of my own pocket. So she had put $60,000 of her own money into this renovation, into the remodeling of this house, and it's coming to closing, and the seller was refusing to pay her any of the money that she had put into this property. I did not tell my cousin. I was like, oh my goodness, like we just gotta work this out. Like I was like, this is like too much.
Welcome back to another episode of Kingdom Heirs, where faith meets business, inspiring kingdom-minded entrepreneurs. Today, I've got the great privilege of interviewing Giovanna Maddalone, my second-born daughter, who is also a young entrepreneur. Today's episode is going to be talking about young entrepreneurs, when you should get started, and what route you should go with. So, welcome to the show, Giovanna. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
I am happy that you were here. We were just cutting it up, having a lot of fun before we turned this on. But today is Black Friday. It is the second day of Thanksgiving for most people because they have a lot of leftovers.
Yes.
Right? So I typically just go for the candied yams. I'll warm those things up all week long, and I will just keep eating candied yams.
Right, because no one else eats them.
Because nobody else eats them, so it's perfect. It's like my favorite dish. So, Gia, welcome to the show. So, today, we wanted to ask you a little bit about your story. We want to hear more about your story as a young entrepreneur, lady. Why business? How'd you get started? Why real estate? What type of real estate are you in? So why don't you just cue us in a little bit of how you got started with business, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I've always been interested in business from a young age. I think just because growing up in a family of entrepreneurs, you were always telling us stories about how you sold pot holders as a kid, or how you mowed lawns, or had a newspaper out, or sealed driveways. And so we grew up with, I think growing up, I had kind of in an environment of entrepreneurship and business. And I think when I was 16, you were like, hey, you should go into real estate. And I went, no.
Why did I suggest that?
Because I really wanted to travel, and I wanted to have my own house, and I wanted to do all this stuff. And you were like...
At a young age.
Yeah, at a young age. And so you were like, Gia, if you want to make all this stuff happen, then you should go into real estate. And I was like, no way. And so...
What were you targeting? I mean, this is probably when you were, a junior in high school? We were talking about this?
I was like a sophomore. And when I was a sophomore, I think I wanted to be a lawyer. I don't know. I wanted to do something. I wanted to go...
You were part of the mock trial team.
Yeah,
right?
I wanted to go into a different aspect. I wanted to do college and do a career. And then my junior year, I was like, oh, no, I really want to get a house. I really want to travel. And so I was like, okay, real estate's the best way to do it. Once I turn 18, I'll get my real estate license. And in the meantime, when I was 17, excuse me, sorry, it was during COVID, and you had just bought a gutter company. And so you said, Gia, you can learn how to do business and come work for me.
Why did I buy a gutter company?
Because it was part of buying the land.
So
you had to buy land, and the guy said, I only sell it to you if you buy the gutter company along with the land. And so you're like, done
Deal.
Never run a gutter company before.
I'd never owned a gutter company, never owned a aluminum seamless gutters, right?
Yeah.
And
the guy he'd owned it for like 30 years. He was retiring, and he wanted to sell his land, but he also needed to sell his business. And so you were like, yeah, I'll buy both. Why not? And so
why not?
You were like, Gio, you can learn how to run this. And
what did we build on that?
We built a plaza on that.
We built a plaza on that piece of property.
Like 2 years later. Yeah.
2 years
it just
later.
opened up in London.
This past year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to the point, I buy this business, and I know it's a service business, right? It's got customers, got an active customer list, and it comes with no employees.
No employees.
No employees. He handed me a list of 10 different customers that he's like, thank you so much for buying my business. Here's the 10 people that I need you to go take care of right now that have been waiting for about a month. And I'm like, this is a little crazy. I don't know how to operate this thing at all. And so we fumbled our way through the first few installs, figured it out, and then Giovanna, this was during, was it where school, where you weren't, school was not 100% back in live, or you could do like virtual school or remote school at this point? Is that what was going on?
Yeah, you had the option to do hybrid.
Okay, a hybrid.
And so I emailed my principal and said, can I please do do school from home? I'm gonna work with my dad, and I'm still gonna get my schoolwork done. And so for maybe 2 or 3 months, I did my schoolwork online, and then I came in and I learned how to install gutters. I cold called for like 4 hours a day.
Why were you cold calling?
To get more business. So.
Because if you buy a company, then you have to keep the company going. What's really cool is that when we bought this, we had 30 years worth of customer lists.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's a gold mine right there. All you guys know that's a gold mine. If you got customer lists, call them. Call them and see if you can. They may have moved. They may need gutters in the new house.
They may have like gotten 3/4 of the house done. They need the last 4 done. It was
drumming up business.
It was terrifying at first because I was too scared to talk on the phone.
I just threw you in there. What did I do? What was the good prepping point for that? I just pick up the phone and start calling people.
Well, you did give me a script.
I gave you a script.
You gave me a script, and then you'd say, here, this is how if they pivot, if they say no, XYZ, you say okay, and then you pivot and then like say this instead. And we actually won a lot of calls that way. I learned how to estimate, and eventually I started going in the estimates by myself. And sorry,
you were closing quite a few deals. I was excited for you. Did I give you commissions for that? I can't remember.
Yeah, you'd give me commissions if I closed the deals.
Come on, hook them up.
I think on 17, I've probably sold like $200K worth of gutters in 1 year.
When you were 17?
Yeah, 17, yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
And then when I graduated and turned 18, I started...
Wait a minute. Did you...
Sorry, I turned 18.
How did this end with the gutter business? What was your... You also helped me buy it, so we acquired it. You helped me launch it, get it up and running, and then what did you help me do?
Sell it, yeah.
Then you helped me sell it. Why did we sell it, Gia?
Why did we sell it? Well, I didn't want to manage it anymore.
Okay, so when your manager says she doesn't want to do it anymore, all right, well then help me sell it.
Yeah.
And you did. You helped me sell it.
Yeah, and it's still going today.
Still going today?
Yeah. Bentex Seamless Gutters, it's great service, great quality materials.
And great people, great family
people.
who own it, operate it. We are so thankful for that. Wasn't that a blessing?
Yes.
It was a big blessing. So, but that was a big part of how you helped me,
Yeah.
And in return, it also helped you, right?
And it gave me a ton of business experience, a ton of just a lot of confidence. I think it also laid the groundwork for real estate because real estate is the ultimate sales game.
Yes, it is. A lot of players in the game, right?
Yeah, it's a very saturated industry, but I mean,
so
the saying is true. 90% or 10% of realtors do 90% of the deals.
That's good. That's a good point.
It's a very competitive industry.
Very competitive. Mm-hmm. When did you? So you graduated when? You graduated high school
in 2021.
2021. When did you have your real estate license?
By fall of 2020. Yeah, fall of 2021, I had my real estate license.
Within 3 months of graduating, you had your real estate license.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I was still working the gutter business. So while I was working the gutter business, I would do my real estate school in the afternoon. So I would do gutter in the morning, real estate in the afternoon.
Did you do an online course or did you go somewhere?
I did an online course and then...
What'd that cost? A couple $1,000?
No, it was like $250.
$250 to get your real estate license? Training? And then take the test?
Take the test.
How many times do you have to take the test?
Twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well done.
I passed. It's like there's 2 parts of the test. I passed one. I failed the other part by like a point. So I had to like go back. I think all in all, after paying all my dues and everything with the Realtor Association, local association, national associations, I think in my MLS, my Supra and signs and everything, I think I maybe invested like $1,500 into my license. And then I closed my first deal maybe 4 months later.
What was your first deal? Do you remember it?
My first deal, I had a couple deals in the fire around the time. So I was like, oh, one deal might close, one deal. I don't know. I didn't know which deal was going to close first. I think my first deal was a house. I helped my cousins buy a house before they got married. So I think that was the first deal actually that officially closed for me. And that was really exciting because I got to help them. And then I also got to, experience the reward of finally closing a deal.
What'd you make on the first house deal for you?
I think it was like $5K.
$5,000.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to work it?
I think a month or two.
30 days?
Maybe 60 maybe
days?
45 days, because we had to find the house first and then we got our contract, and that was an interesting experience just because the deal almost didn't close. I remember. And on top of that, I had no idea how to work a Supra lockbox. I still hadn't figured out how to do it. And so I was just like hoping that it would just open. Come on, I didn't understand how to work it. And then eventually, like maybe 5 deals later, I figured out how to open those Supra lockboxes.
I love it.
They're a pain.
Some people, I might interject this, some people think that I'm a real estate agent or broker. I'm not. And
right. He wanted me to get it because he didn't have the time to get it. So
I didn't have the interest in getting it.
But
I have a daughter who would do really well. I knew you'd do extremely well in real estate. And I'm like, Giovanna, think about it. Your mom and dad, we buy a lot of real estate. Wouldn't it make sense to be our agent and eventually our broker? Wouldn't that just make sense? And I think I had to run some calculations for you as to what that actually netted in income. And you're like, oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense, Dad. Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, it took some convincing.
But you've done extremely well.
Thank you. But yes, back to the story, the funny story. It almost didn't close. I remember it was like the week of closing. My cousin was like, I really want the keys early before closing so we can start moving in. And I was like, I don't know if that's possible, but I can, usually it's not possible.
They were trying to time, their wedding was this weekend. She was going to move in, get everything prepped and ready, and then they can move in together once the wedding happened. So it was like a timing thing,
Yeah, it was
right?
a timing thing. And so I call a title company. Title company calls me and says, Gia, or maybe it was the realtor who called me. Someone called me and said, oh yeah, the seller's realtor is going to put a mechanics lien on this house, so it's not going to close. And I was like, why? Why are you going to put a mechanics lien? And the realtor was like, oh, I verbally agreed with the seller to do all the renovations out of my own pocket. So she had put $60,000 of her own money into this renovation, into the remodeling of this house, and it's coming to closing, and the seller was refusing to pay her any of the money that she had put into this property. And
bad seller.
I did not tell my cousin. I was like, oh my goodness, we just got to work this out. I was like, this is too much.
How'd you guys work it out? How'd you negotiate it?
I don't think I had anything to do with it. I just remember that the very last minute, the title company was helping the seller's realtor negotiate with the seller.
Yeah.
And so the seller agreed to reimburse her
pay out of proceeds.
Yeah, reimburse her $40K out of the 60 or something like that, or $45K. I don't know. It was something like.
It was a deal made.
And so it was able to close. And as we were closing it at the closing table, the title company, the escrow officer, she went, hey, to my cousin, she went, you almost didn't get this house. And she was like, what? And so I was like, well, it closed. You guys got the house.
You know what? That's a great point. As a realtor, you're the in-between person. And so you absorb as much as you can so that your seller or your buyer doesn't freak out in that process.
Right.
It's such a nerve-wracking experience to buy or sell, right? Because it's a deal. It's one of the biggest deals anybody will do. The average person in life, one of the biggest deals they'll ever make, purchases, is a home. And it's the biggest contract it might be part of. And so it's very stressful.
It is very stressful.
Right?
Yeah. Residential, I always find and I've done residential, I've done commercial. I have my own property management company. I have walked off-market deals all the time. So I've done
wholesale deals.
I've done almost every aspect of real estate you could possibly imagine, or I know people who have. And
how long have you been in it now?
I've been in it for 2 years.
What'd you do your first year?
2.5 million total closed.
In your first year?
Yeah, my first year.
That's a big commission check. What was your second year?
My second year, I'm still in it. I'm on track to close about 5 million estimated total sales.
The majority of that is residential or commercial?
The first year majority was residential. Mm-hmm. Second year is commercial.
What's the big difference for you and why? Why commercial?
For commercial, I think it honestly I think God just kind of opened the door for me to go into commercial. I originally was like, no way, commercial. That seems like a lot.
Isn't that for just a bunch of old guys and gals? Commercial real estate?
I
always see these guys have been in it for years and years and years. I'm like, you must have gotten started when you were really young. And they hold the market. It's almost seemed like these commercial brokers, commercial agents, they kind of hedge the market, and it's hard to get in.
Right. Yeah.
To get into commercial business.
I think commercial is undeniably way more lucrative. I think it's less stressful because it's more business oriented. You're not really dealing with emotions. You're more dealing with facts, logics, numbers. If you crunch the numbers and the deal works, then it works.
Yeah, that's good. Well said.
And because it's so lucrative and because it's considered a more exclusive market, I mean, even the CCIM, you need to have, like, it's a way more rigorous process to get your CCIM certification.
What is that?
It's just like it's like Commercial Institute or something like that. It's some sort of acronym, but it just means that you have like a lot of experience. Like Richard Harmon and Steve Barber, they have their CCIM, and it's really hard to get.
Yes.
Because you have to go through schooling, you have to have like all these hours, you have to take a really rigorous test, and it's like all this stuff.
Yes.
And also, once people have the market share, they don't want to tell anybody else their knowledge
of how easy it is. Or how tricky it is. What?
I think more
because think about
more
it.
teaching them how to do it. Like,
commercial is relationships.
Right.
Residential is relationships.
Right. And so it's a bigger relationship.
It's a bigger relationship because it's business. It's not personal. It's more business. Right. So you're stepping into. You found that it's much more lucrative, and I'm hearing you say it was less stressful.
Yeah, it was less stressful. I think.
Because the human element, the relation, there wasn't as much stress on the. It's less impersonal. Is that what you said? It's more impersonal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I do think that residential, like I still work in residential, and I do think while it is more stressful, it is more rewarding in many ways, like in the human aspects. Like, the example. I think that, in any aspect of your ministry, of your work, you have the opportunity to do ministry.
Yes. Like,
example, one time I was referred this lady, and so I drove all the way out to Bishop, like 45 minutes to go do this listing appointment. This lady had just lost her husband, like, she didn't know what to do. She wasn't on any of the bank statements, so she couldn't access any of the money to pay the mortgage. The bank was going to foreclose on her.
Husbands, put your wives on your bank accounts.
Yes, at least as like
a signer.
Yes,
that's important.
At least as a signer.
Great point.
Because this lady, her husband died suddenly.
All that money gets locked up. You got to wait till courts clear the money.
Right,
yeah,
and
it's
so
crazy.
I was in this house with her, and she was a Christian, but she was just like lost. She had no family or anything, and so I just prayed with her and like encouraged her. And with the lady who referred me to her, we were helping her go through probate and helping her like call our bank and say, "Bank, don't foreclose on me. The will's through probate. I would like to pay this, but I can't because I can't access the bank accounts." And
wow, that's scary.
Yeah, it was really scary. And we did not get the listing. I was going out of town. There just was like some issues. She was really emotional and just like it was just a hard thing.
Yeah.
And while I didn't get the listing, I was like, it was still worth it to make that drive and just minister to her and pray with her and like help her in that moment. And I think that makes it all worth it, just because you get to have that, or get to help people who've just had a baby get into a house and like get into a good spot. And it's just, I think that like the relationships I have built with people.
I think you've babysat.
Yeah,
for some of your customers.
I have babysat. Yeah,
right. You've done a lot. You've gone out of your way to, just because, like you said, it's relationships.
Yeah, and I think every person...
Less transactional.
Yes, it's very less transactional, so there's way more emotions in it, and...
You have to be equipped and ready for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to be very empathetic to work in the real estate industry, and you also have to have a very thick skin, just because you can't take that personally. Like, if your client's freaking out, you can't freak out alongside with them.
No, that's right. Almost have to be stoic. And just know the course. Know the course, know the repetition, know the process. Right? What do we talk about a lot? I love the fact that you and I we office together at times, and so you'll come together into the office and you'll just be like, "Hey, what are you working on?" "Dad, I got this deal." And Gia loves to talk, so you may not get that from this right now, but Gia loves to talk, and she'll just share with you her day, and she's just talking. I'm like, "Well, did you do this, and this, and this?" And she goes, "Well, I did those 3. But I'll try those other 2. You sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I love to be part of the real estate transactions that you're working on, from like an outsider kind of looking in, saying, "Hey, do this, turn left, go right." And what I found, majority of how real estate deals get done on the timeline that you want them to get done on is there's 5 people or 4 people involved in the transaction. You got buyer, seller,
loan officer,
title company, inspections,
inspector, appraiser.
Yeah,
right? It's crazy. And usually for appraisers too, like, I've noticed a trend more of the market, with the market shifting and values. Appraisers have not been wanting to provide reports. We're saying the house meets loan value, and so then I, as the realtor,
Have to get comps or what?
I have to get comps. Yeah. And like, even if, it doesn't matter if I'm
we know the whole market is shifting right now. The real estate market's shifting.
Right.
And how people can buy houses and who can buy houses, and things are crazy right now.
Yeah. In my personal opinion, I think that they've been like, even like, as I'm in economics class at my college, and
Texas A&M
Texas
Corpus.
A&M Corpus, and even the macroeconomics professor said the federal government is doing a contractionary method right now in the economy by raising the interest rates, when really they should be doing an expansionary method to fight inflation by lowering interest rates. So actually, the Fed is actively hurting our economy right now by raising our interest rates.
They're trying to reset the economy.
Right.
They're trying to reset it, start fresh, do something different.
Right. And so by doing that, they push a lot of home buyers out of the ability to purchase a house. What's still good, though, is that they have combated it in different ways. Like, there's been new programs, like, example, people who rent can now have their rent payments reported to the credit bureau.
Yes, to build credit.
Now it counts. It used to not count.
That's right.
Now if you ask your landlord, it is an extra fee, but if they report it, it is better for your credit in the long run.
Great thing to do. Build credit early on.
Yes.
How young were you when we started building your credit?
I was 17.
17. I thought that wasn't possible. How'd that happen?
Well, I have parents who cared about helping me and were able to help me build credit. And so I had a credit card you co-signed with me on, and
Secure credit card.
Secure credit
we
card.
put $1,000 down. We went to the bank. We asked them for a secure credit line through a credit card. We put $1,000 down. They then released credit based on that $1,000. I was a co-signer with you, or maybe mom.
I think it was, well, mom also, she sold me a car, and so I think I was 17.
She co-signed
She
with
co-signed.
you. You were listed on the loan.
Right.
And she was primary, you were secondary, but every month we made the payment.
Yeah, I made the payment.
Thank you made the payment with that gutter sales. Then what?
And so then
it reported.
It reported.
So by the time you turned 18,
I was able to, I traded in the car, and I bought my own car with my own loan, no cosigner, no anything.
after how many months of making your payments? A year?
Less than a year,
Less than a year. What was your credit score when you were 18?
I think 720.
720.
It was like it was in the 700s.
You had two forms of credit, right?
Yeah.
And since then, that secure credit card is now obsolete, and now you have a regular credit card.
Yeah, I think I have like 2 or 3. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the cool thing, is that we can gear our kids in certain directions, our children, so that they can excel out of the gate. They shouldn't stumble the way that we stumbled. Mom and I, we fumbled through the gate and stumbled through the gate. I mean, mom's father was very good. Papa was very good about prepping mom with credit and making payments. And so out of the gate, she was very strong in that regard.
Right, because she had the same thing where he helped co-sign it for her car, then she was able to buy her own car, and so she wanted to pay it forward.
Correct.
And I think that's really cool about like generational wealth, is like, if you have the mindset of we're always going to pay it forward, we're always going to make sure that, I guess, we're launching the next generation. So
that's
you
right.
launched, like your parents launched you guys in different ways by giving you guys financial knowledge and savvy business sense, right?
Yes, that's right.
And then you guys launch us and say, hey, let's think about this XYZ.
Yeah. And
then we can then launch our kids higher and higher, so they don't have to start where we started.
That's exactly right. To that point, I came to understand, generational wealth is not tied to dollars. We can't think wealth dollars, just like cash money. It's so much more than that. It's the knowledge, it's the wisdom, it's the insight. And I had this revelation probably 10 years ago, is that where I plateau, wherever I plateau in life. My father was here, and he plateaued from his grandfather. He launched, and he did so much better than my grandfather, which is what my grandfather wanted for my father. And my father hit a plateau in his life, and he just was doing extremely well. And then we launched from that point, and now we're here, and we're like, man, we have done extremely well compared to our parents, but thankful for what our parents did compared to their parents, right? And so you and your family, your sisters and your brother will launch from our plateau. Right?
Yeah.
And then from here, there's some people think, oh no, make them pay their dues, make them start at the bottom. Nobody taught me. Let them just kind of work their way up, and eventually they'll hit where I'm at. That is like not kingdom mind at all. That's like counter covenant mindset. Why do you want to impoverish your kids? right?
Yeah.
That's you. That's like your line. That's your family you've just hindered. So if you equip them and give them the knowledge and the power that you have and you've earned, well, that's now you've launched them from here and they're going to shoot forward. And so I think that's, to your point, what you're describing, that's a true philosophy to really take hold of how you build wealth, generational wealth, and the dollars will follow, right? The income sources will follow.
As long as you're sowing it well,
you
right?
have to sow it well. That's right.
Right. And I think that's another good aspect of it, like important aspect. From a very young age, you taught us the importance of tithing. I remember tithing when I was 7 years old. Like, you're like, whatever money, even your birthday money you get, you have to give 10% back to the Lord. And even into real estate, I was like, okay, the very first thing I did when I get my checks, it wasn't buy something for myself. It was straight off the top, that check, half, 10% is going to be given back to God in whatever way, maybe to my church or to a ministry or something. But didn't matter. You don't pay taxes first. You pay your God first as a thank you.
Yeah, you sow in. You sow back in. You're showing back to Him. You're showing Him that what you put into my hands, I'm gonna be able to take this and I'm gonna sow back into what's important with you, which is community. It's people.
Yeah.
So the local storehouses, the local churches that we're members of, that we're part of, we sow back there so they can continue the ripple effect to reach more people. But you said, so you've been tithing since you were 7, and I know that's true. In that, your first year, you tithed your first year, right? Now your second year, you've almost doubled.
Right.
You've almost doubled. Some people believe that if you give your money away, you lose that money. Isn't that wild? Now now if you sow your money in, you're going to reap something back, right? You're going to reap more opportunities. There's a Bible verse that talks about it. When you're faithful with little, you can be trusted with more. You can be faithful with much, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the principle of sowing. Do we trust God that we can give money back to Him, and that's to care for people, right? And do we trust Him that He'll then give it back to us, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about faith. Right? And faith in business is so rich. It's so true, right? It can't be compartmentalized with our business and our faith. It's got to be one and the same. Otherwise, we'll always be hitting a ceiling. We'll always be capping ourselves, right?
Right, yeah. And I think by giving, you're actually taking the roof off the building.
There's no limit.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think
that's wild.
And part of it too is like when you're giving, you're putting your boat in the water, right? Because faith takes action. And so by saying, Lord, I know you're going to provide for me. By giving, you're saying, Lord, you are my provider. Put the wind in my sails.
That's good. That's good.
There's someone, I think it was Oral Roberts, kind of controversial guy, but great. He was really used by the Lord powerfully.
Yes, he was.
And he would say, I think he needed $1 million. He tithed $100K. And he didn't even have the $1 million yet, but he said, he's like, I have to tithe because I need big things from the Lord. Like,
that's a huge
I got to give
statement.
First
That's
to
a faith
receive.
statement. Wow.
And so I was like, I read that and I was like, wow, okay. So if I know I need XYZ from the Lord, it's not saying.
It's not a genie in a bottle.
It's not a genie in the bottle. It's not saying, if I give this, the Lord is automatically going to give me
That's so true.
XYZ.
That's right.
But if I'm faithful of this now, I know He's going to take care of me.
That's right. You at least open yourself up for that opportunity to come your way.
Yeah.
Right? When we're greedy, it means that we have fear.
Yeah, because you're holding on to something.
Because you're holding on to something.
Tight,
right.
When we're supposed to be like this.
But when you're generous, it means you have no fear. Because you know who your daddy is. You know who your spiritual father is.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's huge. How have you leveraged what you do and what you've chosen for your career at this point? How have you leveraged that to help you fulfill your purpose in life, which your purpose is?
Right.
Everybody has a different purpose in life, but I think the first purpose is to know God and to be known by God. Mm-hmm. That's true success, to be known by God, right?
Yeah, I believe that.
And through that, how have you used what you're doing right now to help you accomplish what you want to do in life?
Yeah, so I definitely think that my journey with the Lord has been like shifting my desires to be His desires, at least in this season and the past year or two. And using real estate, I wanted to be able to travel to do ministry, and I wanted to basically be financially secure that I could pay all my bills. And I guess, and there's nothing wrong with asking other people to sow into your ministry, but for me personally, I didn't want to have to ask anybody to sow into my ministry. If they wanted to give, yes, that was fantastic. And
You wanted to self-fund the work that you were going to do.
Yeah, I wanted to self-fund.
We call that a tent maker. Paul was a tent maker. Peter, they were tent maker. They were fishermen.
Yeah,
they created wealth for themselves, and they were able to fund what they were doing.
And I don't think
other people gave to the ministry as well.
Right. I don't think there's anything wrong with
principle-wise.
that. But for me personally, in that season, I wanted to be self-funded, and so I really wanted to go to England to do this discipleship training program for Healing Deliverance Prayer Ministry, because I really wanted to just pray for people and see them delivered, see inner healing, and see God work for them powerfully in their lives. And I really want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Lord, I'll go do this if you give me XYZ in my savings account. And I was like thinking, okay, in this...
Is that a fleece? Would you say that's kind of a fleece?
Yeah, I guess it was kind of a fleece.
Because you felt called that way, but then you're like, but if I truly am called that way, then...
Well, in that point when I made that, I like literally, for my New Year's resolution, I wrote on a piece of paper, I signed it saying, if I have XYZ in my bank account, I will go. Yeah. And it wasn't like, my thought was, it was like maybe 20, 30K or something like that. And I was like, okay, if I get like 20K in my savings, like I'll pay for the program out of that 20K. Like I wasn't even thinking.
19 at that time?
Yeah, I was 19. No, I think I was 18.
18, 20K in your account?
I was like, that'd be fantastic.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, it was like mind blowing.
When I was 18, I made 20.
No, I didn't.
When I was 18, I made $23,000 that year. When I was 18, $20,000 that year. I think I made $25,000 when I was 22. I love that.
Well,
this is a while ago.
I'm
not that old.
When I did say like when I had wrote that, I didn't have 20K in my account. I was like, I had like way less than that, and I was like, oh, this would be like an if. And then I like finished the year. I paid for the program, and I had way more than 20K in my account, and I had already paid for it. I already lived
you're paying your bills,
and everything. And I was like, wow,
insurance
okay,
payment, phone, all that stuff.
When you do something that is ordained by the will of God, it really is it really is his bill. He's gonna provide for it and give you money left
over. What's that saying? What's that cool saying?
His will, his bill.
What does that mean?
I mean,
if it's his will for your life, he's going to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to provide a way to pay for it.
Either self-funded or through the blessing and other people sowing into you. And
I love that.
It's been really fantastic. So I just...
so you haven't been locked to a desk?
No, I haven't. I've traveled a ton.
When you were traveling, you still doing deals?
Yes, I actually was. Yeah, when I was traveling, even this past summer, I had started a property management company. So I was thankfully... God opened the door for someone to help me manage the properties while I was gone. Mm-hmm. I was still closing deals, writing emails while I was gone. So I came back, and I was still.
I love that.
Yeah,
it's powerful.
It is really powerful.
There's so many different avenues that people can take. Real estate is one of them, where they can still be free. And some people think, well, if God just changed this or that, then I'd be able to do that. Then I'd be able to serve. But sometimes, if you have a heart to travel or a heart that involves traveling or being more mobile, mm-hmm. then choose something that allows you to do that. But do it well. Do it faithfully. Right. And be faithful with what you do receive. Whatever income you do make with it, be faithful to give back first. That tithe, that 10% is nothing compared to the 90% that you get to keep.
Right.
To produce more with. Right. But that 10% is seed money that can grow in 100 times.
Right.
1,000 times.
And I think the tighter you grip for your money, the more you'll feel convicted to give it all.
That's good.
Because if you've made money to be that stumbling block to where you can't.
The idol.
Yeah.
Money can be set up as an idol.
Or not even an idol, just like the reality of life that we have so many bills. We have all this stuff that just seems like overwhelming.
Yeah,
like
true.
How could you not? But then I think the tighter you hold on to it, the more the Lord is like, no, you have to give it. And so
be willing to let it go.
If we're willing to let it go from the very get-go, then instead of it being like this huge overwhelming obstacle, instead it can be something that you joyfully partner with the Lord to give. And I think that is really powerful.
I think there's I once received it like this, if money, wealth, income as it flows in, it should flow through our hands like this. It shouldn't flow through like this, where you cap it. Don't cap it. Don't stop the flow. Don't let it be the Dead Sea. Let it be a river that flows through you, and that flows. The income, the resources will flow. And as it touches us, we do what we need to do for our families. We take care of our families, provide well for our family. sow into the local community, the local church, get planted, find a good church you love, and sow, volunteer, serve. And then in that, you'll reap a network of community around you that will help you in what you do.
Right.
Let people know what you do. Don't be forceful about it. Just let them know what you do and how you can serve them with what you do. It's very important. But then allow those extra resources to flow through into ministries, into caring for people who are hungry, just whatever it is. But then truly believe that he who lends to the poor lends to the Lord. And the Lord will always take care of us.
Right.
Especially those who do good things on his behalf. I think that's the powerful statement in what we do. And when we learn it from a young age, and then you practice it and practice it and practice it, it becomes like an easy motion, right?
Yeah.
And then as you see the ripple effect, it becomes even greater, right? So I'm because our God, one of our previous episodes with Ken Bell, he says our God's not into addition, he's into multiplication.
Right. Yeah.
Super powerful. I love that, right? Super powerful. What do you think that, looking at your trajectory, where you're at, you're 20 years old. You'll be 21 next year, right?
Yeah.
Soon to be 21. With your focus in life, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and what navigational points do you think you got to hit in order to get there?
It's a good question.
Kind of vulnerable question, but I figured I'd ask. Come on.
I think the irony to that is that I used to have a 5-year plan and now I don't.
Okay, this is good. That's really important. Most people have a 5-year plan, right?
Right. And then I realized that if I want to have a 5-year plan, then I'm trying to make things happen in my own way. And I'm saying, okay, and X, Y, Z. I had a 5-year plan until I read James, where James said, he was in the book of James, it was like talking about these people talk about, in a year's time, we're going to be in XYZ city and we're going to make a profit, blah, blah, blah. But he's like, but that's not what the Lord wanted for them. And so I was like, oh my goodness, if I say in XYZ, I'm going to be here, I'm making XYZ and I'm going to be doing XYZ.
Yeah.
But that wasn't what God wanted me to do. Then I was working in vain, right? And so
He says, if what?
If the builder, right? If the Lord does not build the house, then the builders build in vain. And so, if we build our life without the Lord, we are building in vain.
That's right.
Right?
I think that scripture verse also says, rather say, if the Lord wills it, if God wills it,
right,
for this to happen, well then you could be moving in that direction. Otherwise, it's truly in vain.
So, if God wills it, right, I'm going to continue doing real estate in whatever fashion, whoever he puts in my life for me to help them work a deal.
Yeah.
I am open for it. I'm game on for it. And then I also want to keep on serving in my church. I want to keep on praying for people. I want to keep on going on mission trips.
Yeah. Do you have a couple more? Do you have anything planned up in this coming year? What do you got?
Not for this year, but I'm hoping for next year to go to Kazakhstan. And I'm partnering with...
Isn't that Russia?
It's in Central Asia. It's
close to Russia.
It borders China and it borders Russia.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah. So we'll be going with a mission organization called Flame International, where they equip the local church leaders in that area, in different areas like South Sudan, Armenia, and to be example, DRC, and now Kazakhstan, and we'll be praying with people, teaching them healing deliverance principles from the scripture, and it's gonna be really exciting.
That's powerful.
Yeah, so that is the plan.
You were just in Africa a couple months ago.
Yes.
You were in England a couple months ago.
Yeah, so we were in South Africa. We might go South Africa again next year, but this past summer I was in South Africa preaching the gospel, laying hands on people and feeding people. It was fantastic.
Yeah, we did 3 different countries in 12 days.
3 different countries.
We had revival, set flame to South Africa, Mozambique, Swaziland. That was awesome.
It was fantastic.
What a cool moment where just feeling led, knowing that you're led to go meet with people that have been faithful for years, right? People we've known for years.
Yes.
And they wanted us to come back. We wanted to come back and said, well, when we go back this time, let's be focused on revival because we feel revived. Revival is just, when you see God working in you in your business, you see God working with you in your home, in your family life, you start to get excited that God's alive. God is here and he's present.
Right.
And for so many people, God feels so distant. It feels distant, right? Mm-hmm. The only reason why God is distant is because we're distant from God.
Right. And I think revival is really people just seeking the presence of God. But the reality of revival is that you can have revival every day if you're just seeking the presence of God, right?
Absolutely. It's so true. And so it's best, I found that it was just exciting to be part of where people were showing up wanting to encounter Yahweh, the great I am, the Lord. So powerful. And to be present with you, your sister, Michaela was with us. We had a team of local pastors and ministers that were doing mission trips in their own country and then traveling to other countries. They had never done that before. And so we got to be part of that. What a cool experience.
Yeah, it was so awesome.
And we get to fund those things too. I mean, that's the fun part too, that they have programs, they've got things. I know we have some videos on that we can share on our page and kind of let people know, like there's different things that are going on that we use our resources to be part of, not just locally, but across the other side of the world.
Right.
Because we can reach those areas and we can be part of those blessings, right? Because it's a blessing. I learned early on that I wanted to be part of what God was doing. And I knew if I wanted to be part of it, I couldn't physically be there, I could send some money. Because it took me a lot of energy and effort to create the money that I had. And whatever little dollar, it was $100. I was like, oh, there's something going on. These people are going to go on this trip and they're going to be part of something. Well, let me just help pay for something.
Right.
I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
I want to be part of the blessing because somehow those guys are going to reap a blessing because they're putting themselves out there. They're going to go be vulnerable and they're going to go just represent doing good for God, right?
Right.
And I just wanted to be a part of that. So a little bit goes a far way. And then I get to reap, maybe the way I reap it is another opportunity, a business deal, another customer that comes on. We're like, wow, this is great. This just kind of came out of the blue, or did it?
Right, maybe. Who knows? You mean there's no coincidences with God.
That's
Everything is ordained. So
well
technically speaking, then even our trials are ordained by the Lord because we're supposed to learn something. We're supposed to grow through
the hardships.
that. And not saying obviously if someone your loved one dies, something like that. Not saying that it's hardship, right?
Yeah,
it's a trial. But
even in
it was still ordained by the Lord in some way because there's going to be some sort of good that comes out of it because He works all things for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose.
Woo, I love that.
And I think on that as well, we can be on a mission trip every single day, right? And we don't
right here
even
in our
have to,
town, right here in our neighborhood. It's a mission, and
that can be as simple as just loving on someone and
That's a whole
smiling at
message
someone,
right there.
because we live in a state of apathy where people don't care, people don't want to look up. Even I think I'm guilty of this too, where people don't even want to look up from their phones, just make eye contact with someone at the cash register.
Come on.
When
that's a moment right there. That could be a God moment.
Right. We have the God moment to just smile at someone and say, I like your shirt, or you
are loved.
Yeah.
God loves you. Smile, Jesus loves you. I mean, seriously, that little moment right there is rich. It's rich. Yeah, because we never know where that person's at right there in that moment. They may be on the other side ringing you out at the cash register, just praying, internally praying, asking God, where are you? How come this world is so cold? I want to see you. You don't know. We never know. And then there we are, you are, and you're like, I just want to tell you that God loves you.
Right.
And they're like, oh, He sees me.
Yeah.
It's huge. It really is such a small thing that's so big.
It is.
It could change the trajectory of somebody's life.
It's so
because you don't know where that person's at. You don't know where they're at. Contemplating what? Right? Suicide, drugs, what? And I think that's the powerful point of where we live intentionally each and every day in our work, in our daily routine. If we truly live on mission, living on mission is huge. It is so rewarding. It is so rewarding. So, Gia, as we wrap this up, I just want to thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you got a lot going on. Today's Black Friday. Are you going to go shopping?
No.
I don't go shopping either. I am going to go shopping on Monday because Big Lots is going out of business here. One of their stores is closing on Greenwood.
By the time this airs, people won't know about it.
It's okay, but I'm going to go. But I'm going to go show up, and I'm going to go buy some things that we can stock up on. But that's the extent of my Black Friday, Cyber Monday. No, I don't know what that is. Anyway, good Monday. But G, thanks so much. I'm super proud of you.
Thank you.
I love the fact that I get to be your dad, and that I'm still a young guy that I can live life with you, and see how you continue to blossom and bloom, and how you continue to reach people in wherever you go. You're just reaching people with love. It's not a message other than just love, right?
Right. Yeah. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here. And I think like that is so true. Like if any takeaway from this is that you could have all the money in the world, but you don't love, it's nothing, right?
That's right.
And so we could go on 50 million mission trips, but if we don't love when we're home, we don't love when we're there, then don't even bother going on the mission trip. If you aren't going to love people at home, don't bother going anywhere, right?
That's so true. But love starts today. Love starts with forgiveness, right? Knowing that you're forgiven, knowing that you can forgive others, right? Because that's what keeps people closed off from love, right?
Yeah.
Is unforgiveness. But so great message. Thanks so much for sharing your story with us. I pray that this is an encouragement for those of you who have listened. Just remember, Giovanna is 20 years old. And as a young entrepreneur, this is what it can look like for people who have a heart that's just been consecrated to the Lord, that they truly believe that no matter what they do, they are here to represent and to know who our God is. And so quality service is birthed from that. And so I would say, we're all called to be servants in every aspect of our lives. And so I think we just got to see a little bit of that with Giovanna. So if you've liked what you've seen today, I'd ask that you would like, subscribe, and ring that bell. If you noticed something different about today's episode, I would ask that you would write the comments down below. There was something in the room that was completely different today. I didn't mention it until now, but if you noticed it, go ahead and hit it down below in the comments. I can't wait to read those. Guys, thank you again for taking time to meet with us. Just want to say God bless you and have a great day.